So, if you've been following my channel for any length of time now, you probably know that I love the Terrifier movies. Well, Terrifier 2 and 3 specifically. Terrifier 1 is okay, but let's just say that when Terrifier 4 drops, I'm gonna see 2, 3, and 4 as the actual trilogy, and the first movie as a prequel movie, if anything. I don't know if that's a hot take or not. Over the years, Art the Clown has worked his way into being on my personal Mount Rushmore of horror movie icons, right next to Freddy Krueger, Chucky, and Leatherface. And maybe Ghostface, even though he's a goofy fuck who gets beaten up every movie. Despite the criticisms that the movies have received, 2 and 3 are some of my comfort movies. I watch them when I need a pick-me-up, or to watch something to chill me out, as fucked up as that sounds. I just find them so entertaining, and Art the Clown is just funny, I'm sorry, he is. But one thing that I avoided watching for the longest time, shockingly, was the first ever film that stars Art the Clown, All Hallows Eve. Now, I didn't go out of my way not to watch it because I assumed it was going to be bad or anything. I mean, even if it was Damien Leone's full-length feature directorial debut, I assumed that I would find some enjoyment out of it, since Terrifier 1 was still a pretty entertaining film to me, even if I don't like it as much as 2 or 3. I actually avoided it for so long because I knew that none of it was canon to Terrifier, so I didn't see the point in watching it. However, recently, due to me subscribing to Shudder and finally being able to watch it for free. Also, side note, fuck you Amazon Prime for making people pay for movies when they already pay for a subscription. Like, seriously, what the fuck is up with that? But I decided it was finally time to sit down and watch it. And I have a lot of thoughts. But you guys know the drill if you've been subscribed to me for any length of time. Before I get too deeply into it, let me get introductions out of the way. Hi everybody, my name is Misa and I love bad movies. And not only do I love watching bad movies, but I love talking about them and getting other people to watch them because I enjoy making people watch the stupid shit that I like. Hence why I'm making this video. But another reason that I'm making this video is for my amazing patrons, Rob Slide, Fox, and James Horner. You guys have been so supportive with my artwork and my content, and you've been so patient when I've been delayed producing any of it, so thank you so much. But let's get into All Hallows Eve. So when I decided to sit down and watch All Hallows Eve for the first time, I didn't actually expect that it would be a movie I'd want to make a video about. I just thought I'd probably mention it in passing when I eventually do my Terrifier video. Which is coming, guys. I'm just trying to find some time to script it between my normal videos because it's going to be very, very long. I knew that this was Damien Leone's full-length feature movie going in, but like I said, considering that I thought that Terrifier 1 was still pretty good despite it not being my favourite in the trilogy, I thought this would at least have elements that I would enjoy, and would probably remind me of the franchise, especially since Art the Clown is in it. And I mean, the last segment of the film did, but the rest of it was weird. You see, if you didn't know, this is an anthology movie, which was already something that was putting me off a little bit. It's not that I think anthology films aren't a good form of movie making or anything, I just don't personally like them very much. I just personally prefer long-formed cohesive stories with consistent characters that I can root for. But more than that, I find a lot of anthology movies tend to just use short, usually mediocre segments to loosely tie a story together, rather than use them to tell separate, interesting stories. Halloween Candy being a really great example of this, go watch my video on that if you feel like it. I did hope that with All Hallows Eve this wouldn't be the case. I really wanted this to be an anthology movie that made me change my mind about the subgenre altogether. I knew that Damien Leone had the talent to do that, considering how great he's gotten at storytelling with each movie that he makes. But alas, if anything, it solidified why I don't really like anthology movies. The through-line story is okay with the babysitter and the kids, but the anthology segments range from laughably bad to unintentionally hysterical to pretty okay. Plus, you know, there's no David Howard Thornton. I mean, don't get me wrong, the two guys that played Art the Clown in this movie aren't bad by any means, but you just can't replace the GOAT. His ability to be super expressive without actually saying anything is honestly such an amazing talent. And as much as I don't mind these actors playing Art, especially the second actor in the last segment, it didn't feel the same as watching Art in the Terrifier movies. But I'm gonna do my best not to allow the Terrifier movies to cloud my judgment about this film. I may refer to them throughout the review since it would be kind of impossible not to, but my goal is to not let my love for the franchise make me judge this movie less harshly. Less harshly. That's what I meant to say. I'm keeping that in, fuck it. And trust me, I'm not gonna find that hard because some parts of this movie are really bad.
Chloe, you mean you could actually see it from the house?
Yes! It was only 100 feet away from the house!
Did you call the police?
I couldn't!
I did wonder when looking into All Hallows Eve whether the second one, because yes, there is a second one, was related at all to this one, and it doesn't seem so. Damien Leone isn't involved as a director or writer, and this is the only All Hallows Eve to include Art the Clown. And when I was looking this up, that's when I discovered that there's not just one sequel to this, but 3! Like, why are there 4 of these things? And why do these 2 covers look AI generated? You know, it's moments like these that I remember. I'm just never gonna run out of content. But anyway, I think it's best to just explain why I'm not a big fan of this film by explaining what happens in it. As always, spoiler warning for the whole movie, so if you want to watch the film spoiler-free, then go and watch it and come back. But for those of you who don't care, or you've already watched it on YouTube because you refuse to pay for it on Amazon Prime, let's get into All Hallows Eve. I see they're using the Terrifier font. To be honest, I think it's kind of annoying that they're giving away a lot of the gore here, considering the gore effects are one of the only good things about this movie. In case you guys didn't know, that's one of the things that Damien Leone is known for. His practical gore effects. And trust me, some of the gore effects in this movie are great. But some... yeah, we'll get there when we get there. Oh wow, a different movie that I would much rather be watching than this. Right, so the basic story that ties all of the anthology sections together is that this woman is babysitting these 2 kids on Halloween night. And one of the kids finds a videotape in his candy bag. So obviously, they decide to watch it and find out what's on it. And if I'm being honest, as tie-in stories for anthology movies go, this actually isn't the worst. It's not as batshit insane as Halloween Candies was, but it's okay. Although if I was the babysitter, I definitely would not be letting them watch it. I mean, it could be porn for all she knows, or a snuff film or something. I wouldn't put it past a teenager to pull a prank like that. And I definitely wouldn't put it past a random dude to just put it in to fuck with some kids. Plus, I think the movie kind of implies at the end that it's kind of a snuff film, but we'll get more into that later. Also, fun fact, the babysitter Sarah is played by Katie Maguire, who plays the talk show host in Terrifier 1. Which is pretty cool. But if you don't really know Terrifier, you probably don't give a shit.
Hey, I was watching that.
Sorry.
He wasn't watching that. You weren't watching that. Yes, I was.
Oh god, it's the most terrifying thing of all. Child acting!
What time is it?
Oh, it's 10:15.
Alright, seriously, pumpkin carving in 10 minutes. I want to get this over with.
Spoilers, but they never do the pumpkin carving because it's, you know, nearly 11 PM. So Timmy, yes, that's his name, finds the tape and they start to watch it.
Wait a minute.
What is it?
I don't know.
That's a rape dungeon if I've ever seen one. Alright, so the first segment, called The Ninth Circle, is one that from what I can gather, Damien Leone made years before All Hallows Eve. Which you can kind of tell by the quality, or lack thereof, of the camera work and effects compared to the rest of the movie. And honestly, this is the one segment where the gore is really questionable. In the other 2 segments, any gore or effects were actually kinda decent, showing that clearly Damien improved a lot between making this and making the next segments. But yeah, we'll get there when we get there. In the Ninth Circle, a girl is waiting at the train station when she's harassed by my boy! Well, not my real boy, but my boy, Art the Clown! And like I said earlier, the actors who play Art in this movie, since a different actor plays him later in the film, both did a good job considering. Like, if I'd never seen any of the Terrifier movies and had never seen David Howard Thornton play Art, I would think these guys did a great job with the material that they were given. You know, since they weren't allowed to speak. Out of the two, this actor is my least favourite, but I think that's because the other Art was just so much more expressive and had a lot more to work with in terms of the isolated story that he was in. I mean, this Art is only in a few minutes of the segment and he doesn't get to do much, so he didn't have anywhere near as much to work with. So he basically does some Art shit, i.e. being annoying and thinking he's the funniest thing since Peep Show, and injects her, knocking her out. I like this shot. It does kind of feel like it comes out of nowhere, but I don't know, I like the glowing eyes, I think they're cool. The girl wakes up and is chained up in some kind of underground area of the station, and she meets two girls who have also been kidnapped. And let me tell you, this is where the acting begins to shine.
This is where he keeps us. There were 3 of us. There was another girl.
What happened to her?
She was dragged down into that tunnel. They're pulling us down by our chains one at a time.
Why are you two just sitting there? Why are you trying to escape?
Damien, I know this was your first project, but dude, how did you let it get this bad? One of the girls gets yoinked and the other 2 decide to try and escape. They manage to walk very far into the area and find where their chains end, which for some reason none of the girls had attempted before them. Did none of the other girls just try walking in the direction that their chains were coming from? Like, I don't understand.
Why are you two just sitting there? Why are you trying to escape?
We've tried everything. There's no way out.
Liar.
But they seem to have a slight chance of escape when... Oh god, listen. Damien Leone is a very talented man when it comes to special effects in all of his other works. The Terrifier movies have amazing special effects. And even the other parts of this film have great gore effects, but this is not his best, let's just leave it at that. Seriously though, this looks like some of the gore in Clownado. However, the makeup on the other hand looks great. This dude looks really good. And honestly, all of the creatures in this segment look so good considering the budget restrictions. It's good to see that Damien's makeup skills were still being put to good use, even if the gore wasn't amazing. The second woman gets killed, and the main girl gets caught and knocked out. When she wakes up, she's surrounded by demons, and the girl from earlier, who was yoinked, is pregnant. Very heavily pregnant. Oh no, I don't like where this is going. And one of the demons decides that the best course of action is to cut her pregnant stomach open so that he can drink the blood. Now, obviously, Sarah turns the video off at this point because she's a responsible babysitter who cares about the mental well-being of the children that she's looking up. Wait, hang on. Wait, no, my script says that she leaves the movie on after this point. Didn't she say that one of these kids is 10?
It can't be worse than the stuff we see on the internet every day.
Jesus Christ, you're 10 years old. What do you watch on the internet?
Look, I grew up watching horror movies when I was a kid too, but none involved anything as fucked up as a pregnant woman having her stomach cut open so demons can drink her blood. Like, the fuck? Oh, but it gets so much worse. So not only does the pregnant woman die, but our main character is also raped by the main demon, who seems to be implied to be the devil. And it's only after this scene happens that Sarah decides that the video is too much for these literal children and turns it off.
That was sick.
Okay, that is enough for tonight.
Hey, what are you doing?
Oh, so the pregnant woman having her stomach cut open was fine, but the devil rape was where you put your foot down? Overall, this is definitely the weakest of the segments in terms of entertainment value and effects. Women being kidnapped to be impregnated by the devil just to have their stomachs cut open and their blood drank seems nonsensical and is kind of just uninteresting to me. Like, why would you impregnate these women just to drink their blood and kill them? Does the baby not matter when it comes to this weird cult? Does pregnancy make their blood taste better? I don't understand what the point was. I don't really like throwing the word edgy around when it comes to movie reviews, but it does just feel like Damien was trying to be edgy with this story and make people talk about it due to how messed up it was. As you can tell, I'm not the biggest fan of this segment, however, I can appreciate that this was the first introduction of Art the Clown, and it was a starting point for one of my favourite horror movie franchises. However, it just wasn't great. No amount of reminding myself that this was the first ever depiction of Art the Clown could change my opinion on that. After this segment, Sarah sends the kids to bed.
Night, sweetie. Sleep tight.
Who's that baby? Why does this child have a photo of a baby in their room? Right, so the next segment is the only one that I couldn't find the official name of. Probably because Damien knew that it was the silliest one and he didn't want to put a name to it. But I like to call this one the fucking bonkers segment. It starts out with this woman who just moved to a house in a rural area. She mentions to her friend about a painting that her husband painted, and I would say that this painting will be important later since she draws a lot of attention to it, but it's just not. It's a Chekhov's gun without the gun going off, trust me. Most of this segment is just the woman seeing supernatural occurrences and freaking out.
Fuck this.
It was actually at this point in the segment that I was wondering where the hell her husband was or if he even existed because he hadn't shown up at all yet. And when he picked up the phone to her, I was so glad that he was real and this interaction happened because...
Listen, you'll be fine. Call the police and then call me right back.
I don't want you to go.
You have to call them. You'll feel 100 times better knowing they're on their way.
No, but what if I get off the phone with you and I can't get in touch with you again?
As you can see, Oscar-worthy performances throughout. But seriously, I genuinely groaned throughout this entire scene because of how horrific the acting was. Now, I need you guys to understand something before I show you the next scene. Up until this point in the movie, I was legitimately getting bored. Like, I wanted to fall asleep kind of bored because nothing was happening. However, this woke me the fuck up. When I tell you that I scream laughed when I saw this part, because why the actual fuck is the alien moving like that? This alien basically chases her around for a bit, and honestly, the alien doesn't look great, but for a low-budget movie, it doesn't look horrible. Although I don't know why it's moving like a confused ape, it's so fucking goofy. We finally get to see what the painting was of, and... What? As you can probably tell by how short this section of the video was, I did not like this segment either. It was mildly more entertaining than the last one, solely due to how ridiculous the premise was and how the alien moved around, but that is it. Everything up until the alien entered the scene was boring as fuck, and acted very badly. At least with the Ninth Circle, the story itself kept me kind of interested. And don't even get me started on Art the Clown being what the painting was of. I get Art being a servant for demons in the Ninth Circle because throughout the rest of the movie, he seems quite demonic, and he even serves demons in the Terrifier films after being resurrected at the end of one, so it tracks. But him being a hallucination of the husband that he decided to paint right before the aliens attacked this house just feels so random. Art is never associated with aliens again, and I don't think Damien thought over how to insert him into this story properly. Overall, this part was bad, but unintentionally really funny, but finally, we can get to the better part of this film. So, the last segment, Terrifier, revolves around this costume designer who's travelling back home to New York. And the first thing that I noticed was this filter that was used, which differentiates this short from the others visually. It does feel similar to how Terrifier 1 looked in some ways, but the filter is a little distracting. Judging by the end of this film, it's probably supposed to indicate that this is definitely like a movie, but then it also implies that it's not. It's kind of confusing. She stops at a gas station where we see our main man.
You out of your fucking mind? Seriously, you think this is funny? You think you just piss all over the place and smear your shit on the walls?
What is it with art and defecating everywhere? Why is this an established character trait of his? She stays for a bit to get gas and chats with this worker when...
You're gonna go about 6 miles. You're gonna see a bridge.
What was that?
Hang on a second. I'll be right back.
Why do people always go and check out noises in horror movies? Like, bro, you're unarmed and a deranged guy shat all over your walls. I'd be calling the cops. But when the guy takes too long to come back out, and she goes to see where he's gone... See, the practical effects here are actually really good. Damien clearly stepped up his game when it came to the gore and the effects for this one, which would make sense considering he made this and The Ninth Circle 3 years apart from one another. I think it looks pretty on par with Terrifier 1 if I'm being honest. The costume designer does what anyone would do and runs away, jumps in her car, and gets the hell out of there. She calls the police, but she's got no signal, so she stops to get help from a passerby in a car. I can see the influence of Victoria in future Terrifier films here, and once again, the makeup looks pretty damn good. Like, this image is horrifying. I kinda love it. Art manages to catch up to her and even hides in her car. He tries to kill her, but she actually pulls some Final Girl shit. She runs away and hides in a nearby barn, and Art can't get past the door. And she seems like she's safe, but... You know what? Despite watching the Terrifier films multiple times and thinking that I have a grasp on Art's character, I did not expect him to dig his way into the barn. Like, that's so ridiculous. But that's just so him. She manages to run away, and an Anthony Padilla lookalike picks her up. But Art does what Art does, and he pulls out a fucking Glock. Like, this is so mad to me. Why does Art always have a fucking gun on him? The costume designer gets knocked out, Art gets the upper hand on her, and... well... this scene, I think, is the crazy kill scene of this movie. Each Terrifier movie has one. Terrifier 1 has the hacksaw scene, Terrifier 2 has the bedroom scene, and Terrifier 3 has the shower scene. And this movie has... Okay, listen. One of the main criticisms of Damien Leone that I've seen is that his treatment of his female characters can be questionable, and this is kind of proof of that. I can't really defend this scene from the allegations, because why did he write these derogatory words on her body and cut her tits off? Like, the fuck? A lot of the kills in the Terrifier films are very mean-spirited, but this specifically seems very misogynistic. And it's not a vibe I get from the Terrifier movies and their kills, but it feels so gross. I mean, the combination of taking away something that men would consider an attractive feature, her chest, taking away her ability to prevent him from having any kind of power over her, i.e. her arms and her legs, having her fully naked for it, writing all these words all over her, it just feels really gross. Like, I know that you guys probably aren't doom-appealed or terminally online like I am, but this is legit the kind of scene that an incel would get off to. If you've been on incel forums, this is the stuff that they talk about fantasizing doing to quote-unquote foids. This scene just screams, I hate women. It also does feel like Damien is trying to be as shocking as possible. Little does he know, though, I've played What I Wouldn't Do, and I'm Twitter moots with the creator on my personal Twitter account. Yes, that's a flex. But yeah, if you know, you know. Limbs being cut off isn't going to traumatize me. Trust me when I say, you guys are lucky he ended it here, because if you played What I Wouldn't Do, it could have gotten a whole lot worse. But anyway, after finishing this segment, Sarah is pretty spooked. And it turns out that there's an after credit scene of the tape. I do like this shot of Art, it's actually quite creepy. But it turns out that Art was in the house the whole time. She also gets a call from the woman in the last segment, which happens to be the same phone call that she made to the police, which is a pretty creepy touch. And like I said before, it kind of implies that the events of the tape were actually all real, and this is some kind of snuff film, which does make the Terrifier segment feel a lot more connected than the others to the events with the babysitter. And of course, we end the movie with child murder, a Terrifier staple. And then we are gifted with this mid-credit scene implying that the movie will cause Art to appear in your home. It's corny, but I like it. All Hallows Eve is such a chaotic watch, but it also laid the groundwork for arguably one of the most controversial and well-known slasher movies within the last 2 decades. The last segment and last part of the movie felt a lot like a Terrifier movie, and I can see why Art the Clown became popular from this film. However, the first 2 segments were so badly acted, and they only felt entertaining because of how ridiculous they both were. Like I've said, the makeup in all of these segments were pretty decent, and the gore in the Terrifier segment specifically was stellar. But gore effects can't save a horror movie when the script is bare bones and the acting is shockingly terrible. Even in the last segment, the acting wasn't amazing. I did try not to let my dislike of anthology movies cloud my judgment on this one, but I can't lie, it did display a huge aspect as to why I don't like anthology movies. It just felt like a bunch of random stories strung together with no coherence. Like, the whole babysitter and kids finding the haunted tape through line made sense, but the stories themselves just seemed so ridiculously disconnected. And the fact that the alien story had to have the added painting of Art for it to be even remotely connected to the others really says a lot. It wouldn't have been connected in any other way otherwise. Honestly, when it comes to ranking, it's a really tough one. Because I know what Damien ends up creating later in his career, so a part of me wants to put this in this could have been good. Since clearly, he had the potential to make something way better. But I can't judge the film based on what I now know about Terrifier. If I didn't know that Art the Clown was a thing and I didn't know about what his character was or about his future movies, I would genuinely be putting this in wow, you really didn't try. The only reason that I want to defend All Hallows Eve is because of who Damien Leone is and what he's made. But if I didn't know him and this was the first product of his that I'd ever watched, I just couldn't rank it higher than that. Just because one segment was pretty decent and one made me scream laugh doesn't mean that the movie as a whole was good. There were obviously some things that I liked about it, like the gore in the last segment, the makeup, and art, but in general, the movie was just not something that I would ever think to watch again. Except maybe to show my friends during bad movie night. It's better than Halloween Candy by a mile, and I would rather watch the bad parts of this movie over Good Boy any day. But it's not something that I would get drunk and watch for a laugh, so it's gonna stay here. And honestly, now that I know that Damien Leone and Art the Clown are not a part of the sequels, kinda makes me less confident that I'll like them. Guess I gotta review them! If I know that I'm gonna hate them, I may as well make content out of it! So, if you disagree with my ranking for whatever reason, or even the points that I made in the video, then you can let me know in the comments. Or you can tweet at me. The links to my Twitter, /X, and Blue Sky accounts, as well as my Letterboxd, are in the description. If you follow me on Letterboxd, then you're going to see what movies I've been watching lately, so you can probably get an idea as to what movies I'll cover in the future. And for generous people who want to support me making these videos, my Ko-Fi and my Patreon are also in the description. The Ko-Fi is more for kind of one-shot donations if you feel like it. But if you join the Patreon, you'll receive early access to my videos and my artwork, and you'll get monthly commissions by yours truly. Similar to these examples that I'm showing on screen now. So if that interests you, or you like the look of my art style, then you can become a member. Or alternatively, if you just want a commission, then you can message me on Twitter or Blue Sky, because I do commission separately from my Patreon. But anyway, thank you all for watching. As a Terrifier fan, this one was, kind of depressing, but, you know. And I know what I'm going to be doing a video on next, and I know that it's going to be a bit more of a positive one. So, I hope you guys look forward to that. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!